Добрий день, я вітаю.
Welcome to everybody. My name is Olga Temanova from the Ukrinform news agency. The 156th day of the full-scale aggression of the Russian Federation into Ukraine. On this day, we are presenting a movie called The Quiet Terror, Chronicles of the Hell. The director of this movie is Elizaveta Tatarinova. Will you please tell us a few words about your work? We will start with the teaser, perhaps. Can we please show it on the screen? They say you can't figure out what freedom is until you lose it. We can be killed just because we are Ukrainians. It's very like a hostage movie. Someday acquaintances just get disappeared. They just cut the door, the lock from your door. They attached my hands to the something that I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what is worse when a missile destroys your home or you are marched against the wall. What is taking place in Kherson, it's difficult to depict. This terrible horror takes place somewhere under the ground in the cells of the houses. This is your second movie. The first one depicted Mariupol, now the Kherson project. Who are the main characters of this documentary? How did you shoot it? It was very important for us because the topic is urgent. We wanted to show the other side of the war. Unlike Mariupol, this war is not that picturesque. It's a pity that this part of war is not under the limelight in the world. It's not about explosions. It's about a city under the occupation of the Russian invader. And people don't have the opportunity to share their grief. They're voiceless because Russia has done everything to isolate the city from the limelight, to put forward a false message that everything is business as usual. We wanted to focus our attention on this. When we were searching for the characters, we realized that the task was very difficult. We are grateful to everybody. These are courageous people who have volunteered to participate. We know people whose friends, acquaintances, or loved ones live in Kherson. And of course, they are under constant threat. The work was very difficult from the very beginning. We planned that from the very beginning, the main character would be a girl living outside of Kherson in a village. She was shooting her diaries. And once the movie was almost ready for the broadcast, that girl's home was invaded by the Secret Service of Russia. I don't know how they identified her, but everything changed because we had to cut out all the pictures where this girl was featured, and we were made to find another character who would be the focal point of the narrative. This is the price that the citizens of Kherson are ready to pay. So I would challenge you to disseminate this documentary. We are open. We grant the copyright free of charge. Where did you shoot the movie? It was shot in Kiev, Odessa, and Mykolaiv. As it happened, perhaps we were lucky by the fact that many dwellers of Kherson, they tend to evacuate to the places not far away from their native city, and they're staying in the southern part of Ukraine. Have I understood you correctly that you are ready and want to share the rights for this documentary as it happened with the movies, your documentary on Mariupol? Let me blow my own trumpet. Due to the help we received from our British colleagues, they contacted us and are helping to disseminate the Mariupol movie. The viewers in Germany, Austria, Spain, Canada, and Portugal have seen the movie in the major channels of those countries. So we are thankful for such an attention to the Ukrainian cause, and we will be continuing to do this work. We know that Russian propaganda is not sleeping. They are active in Europe. They are distributing their fakes around the world. But our answer is to show what's going on in Ukraine as it objectively is happening, including the war crimes that don't have time limitation, and people will be held accountable in the international tribunal. As a director, what is the major challenge you confronted? The biggest challenge is what I have already mentioned. It's not the search of the main character. It's the responsibility per se. After the story of what happened to our main character, we understand that those who have left the occupied territories, indirectly or directly, they are threatened. Their relatives and loved ones are threatened. When we talk about the life under occupation, we should be very careful. The main principle here is do not harm. You think in terms of 50-50. You have to relate the story, but you want to impose the danger on those people. What is happening over there is terror in pure form. People are held responsible for their deeds and for their works, just like in Orwell. There is a police of thought working there. Who has impressed you most? Whose story has touched you personally? As a director, I understand you've been living through these histories, but there must be somebody or somebody's history that has touched you most. It's difficult to say such a traditional issue. All of my characters are real heroes, in spite of all the pressure that they have been exposed to over the 5 months. The city of Kherson is withstanding. You have to have a lot of courage to oppose, to come up to the streets, to the rallies, to chant that Kherson is Ukraine under the guns. These people are heroes. Have you received the feedback from your characters? Yes, I have, and the feedback is positive. They've told us that, you see, for us it was very important, not important, but rather complex, try to portray the atmosphere governing the city. As one of the characters says, you know, what is happening in the city is difficult to depict. You don't see everything in a picturesque way. You don't see or hear the explosions. Everything that is going on is taking place behind the scenes at night. You see, there is a terror, an atmosphere of being intimidated. After the movie was ready, I thought to myself, if I try to formulate what this movie is all about, it's a movie about confrontation of two worlds. One world is when you come out into the street and you voice your political position. It's natural for you. It's like breathing. And another world is when you are punished or killed for speaking out. And I think what is happening in the occupied territories, in Kherson itself, you see the confrontation, the collision of these two worlds. It depicts the cause that the whole Ukrainian population is fighting for. I would like to give floor to one of the characters. He is an actor of the local drama theater. He will tell us what his impression is. Have they succeeded in portraying what is going on in Kherson? Good health to you all. Glory to Ukraine and glory to heroes. I think I should say thank you to the director. The impression in Kherson is that we are not much talked about. There are no explosions. Once you hear explosion, as it recently happened in the city of Kropivnitsky, and the city is in the limelight, until the bridge named after Antonov has not been attacked, no one spoke about the Antonov Bridge. And it is important for the population to understand that Kherson is living through the quiet hell. See, I'm becoming a little bit emotional here. An important issue here is for you to understand the following. I think I mentioned this. You can leave the occupied territory, but the occupation does not leave your inner self. Will you excuse me? You see, it's funny to see a grown man crying, but when over the period of 2 months you're under such a powerful stress, you care about your relatives, your neighbors, and once you get out of that situation, you think that in a month or 2 months' time you will be relieved of that feeling. But when you think about people who have been interrogated, were released, interrogated again, they were forced to cooperate, and I am proud that my friends have not agreed to cooperate with the enemy. You might have heard something about Kherson, what the enemy did in the city. They forced the theater to continue working. They have found collaborators to show the picture that the drama theater is still working as they compare the situation with the occupied Leningrad during the Second World War. So unfortunately, some actors agreed to collaborate with the occupying force, but the majority of actors have not agreed and they are being pressured. So this movie, for me personally, has become something of a psychotherapy. Am I using the correct word here? It's a way to speak your soul out, to communicate with other people. Before the movie started, I knew only one person of those. Now I know a couple of them. Every person has a history of his or her own, but in every city in Ukraine, in different cities, there are thousands of people with their unique histories. So I thank you for this movie, for this, rehabilitation. I have been relieved. I agree with the director that it's a heroic deed to participate in such a movie. What was your decision-making process? We understand that your family are there, your friends are there, and you are the leader of the theater. A lot of things might have happened to harm your life. When I agreed, I didn't think about that. I thought I should cry out about what was happening in Kherson. Now that the main bridge has been hit, the city is again in the center of attention. You know, the city was occupied when in the winter time, the snow was falling, and it took some time for some normality to come back. Now that the bridge has been destroyed, the prices have skyrocketed in terms of foods and fuels. There are enormous queues in the city. People are trying to buy as much food as they can, and I'm glad that the Antonievsky Bridge has been destroyed at last. But it also leads to a deterioration of the living conditions of the people. We believe that the city will be liberated. Either it will be on the day of independence in August or maybe in September, but we wish it were done tomorrow. We should think about the people who are living in this condition of the Groundhog Day. You will remember the movie. This is the movie that is so relative to the city of Kherson. Somewhere in the city or beyond the city, you hear the explosions. You search for food. The prices are high. People don't have Ukrainian cash available. You have some money on your bank account. You try to exchange that money to the Russian legal tender. Now you know on the news that they want to introduce Russian ruble. They plan some referendum to take place on the 11th of September. This is the way the city lives. We have come back to the month of February. I think I will spoil the movie here a little bit. You were one of the organizers of the pro-Ukrainian rallies that took place in Kherson at the beginning of the occupation. We were so much inspired by those reporting in TV reporting that we saw, but the occupiers under the pressure, they have intimidated the Ukrainian population. What's your feeling? Is it the fact that the most active population have left the city, and those people who are staying behind, are they pressured? The first rallies were very important. We wanted to show them that we are different, us different from them. We wanted to show them the, F finger, and people were not intimidated. And it took them a month to resort to the dispersal of the mass rallies. People were not afraid. It's only that people were changing their localities. We rallied in one place, then in another place, and then we thought it was too dangerous because the human life is the most valuable thing. Protests, what should I say? On the 1st, on the 5th, on the 13th, the day we celebrate the liberation from the fascist occupiers, was the most powerful rally. But on the 1st of June was the most powerful rally on the International Day of Protection of Children. I think it was cynical of them to celebrate such a day. The occupiers realized that the fact that we didn't show up in the streets was our way of protesting. Then our guerrillas, the so-called Kherson guerrillas, that they paint some words on the walls. And this is a way of protesting. People believe in the Ukrainian armed forces, but this Groundhog Day feeling is something that we feel now. Every day people must be reminded that they are remembered, that their voice is heard, and it makes me glad that you are sharing that effort. People in the occupied city of Kherson must be aware and must realize, must know that there is information on them, that we remember them, that we work towards the liberation of the city. After you've got out of that occupied territories, what's your daily agenda? What is your goal of your activities? I've had some problems with occupied forces, and I was at the center for displaced persons, and those centers are now hosting more than 200 people. People come and people go. We have 100 women and children there from Stanislav, from the village of Chernobyevka and Alexandrivka, a settlement that has been completely destroyed and razed to the ground. So the people staying in those centers for displaced persons, I'm helping them. My friends try to get some cash to those people. I have been helped, so in return I'm trying to help those people through my Facebook page. I do some crowdfunding to help people. We also help people to get away from those territories financially or in terms of delivering medicines. There are not many of them, but we are doing what we can. People from mainland Ukraine also are helping. The main message is that people are in need of help. The people in Kherson cannot find jobs now. Either you collaborate with the occupier or you keep your children stay hungry. They are pressuring Ukrainians into collaborating. You see, the theatrical community have not been paid as of today, and they are using, as they say, they are scratching the barrels. There is no available money for them to live on. That's the way we live. I call on everybody who wants to help the dwellers of Kherson to help the way you can. You see, I am in a hurry now. I've been jobless for a couple of months, and I was made to leave the city by my friends, brothers Kapranovs. I was staying with them. I was digging their orchards, and I've planted cucumbers and tomatoes. I've seen now the result of my work. The life goes on. I've been working in Poltava Theater. In the Kropivnitsky Theater, I also have a project, and I will go to the city of Mykolaiv, where I will work on 2 plays, and I will be doing my work and will help people as best as I can. I hope this will be a very successful premiere. My message in terms of this quiet terror, I will add 2 words. Kherson is Ukraine. Everything is gonna be fine. Do we have questions from the floor? If you have, you're welcome. There are no more questions. I thank you very much. Let me remind you and remind all the people staying in the occupied territories, we remember you. We will do our best to free you, and glory to Ukraine.